This is the story of AirAsia Flight 8501, December 28, 2014, over the Java Sea. AirAsia Flight 8501 is a scheduled flight operated by the AirAsia Group affiliate. The flight is currently flying from Surabaya, Indonesia to Singapore. There are 155 passengers and 7 crew members on board. The captain in command is a 53-year-old Captain Irianto. He is a former Indonesian Air Force pilot. He had previously flown for Adamir, Merpati Airlines and Sriwijaya Air. He has more than 20,000 flight hours. The co-pilot is First Officer Remy Emmanuel Pleasant. He is a French national with 2,247 flight hours. The aircraft is a 6-year-old Airbus A320-216. Its call sign is Wagoneer 8501, registered as PKAXC. The plane accumulated approximately 23,000 flight hours over 13,600 flights. It had its most recent maintenance on November 16, 2014, 12 days before. Indonesia AirAsia is currently flying at flight level 320. Please note that I can't fly at 32,000 feet, which means 320 flight level. It is in contact with the Jakarta Area Control Center, which provides ATC service over the Western Java Sea. 22 minutes in the flight, pilots detect thunderstorms ahead of them. Please note that there may be some problems and some warnings sounding here because I am not so good in this. Some overspeed warnings may also sound, as I was telling. Before even the captain could contact the ATC to request a higher level altitude because of the storm, the Amber Advisory Auto Fault Radar Travel Limit 1 appears on the ICAM. Please note that ICAM means Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitor. And here we will see a picture of the ICAM, or what is its function. Here we can see the ICAM. What is ICAM? Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitor. ICAM is defined as is a system on Airbus aircraft for monitoring and displaying engine and aircraft system information to the pilots. It is also used for warning the pilots to any danger to the plane. So let's get back to our story. 1 minute later, a failure on both radar travel limiter units triggers a chime and master caution light. A radar travel limiter or radar limiter is a controlling device used to mechanically limit the maximum radar deflection. Because of the problems and because of the problems, the captain follows the ICAM message. He first resets the FAC means flight. FAC means flight augmentation computer. The captain follows the ECAM messages, and he first resets the flight augmentation computer 1, and then he resets the flight augmentation computer 2, and then because of the problem at that time, the pilots were not able to the pilots were not able to request the higher level altitude, and now they again try to contact ATC to request the higher level altitude, but again the same message appears. The captain performs the same things as performed before, and then everything goes normal until for the third time the warning sounds. The captain again follows the ECAM messages. The warning disappears, but then something horrible happens. The pilots did request the higher altitude to Jakarta Air Control Center, but then Jakarta Control Center tells them that flight level 32,000 feet or 320 flight level 320 was not available due to high traffic, but he did give the flight the clearance to climb to flight level 340, 3,400 feet or 34,000 feet. And then, because Jakarta Control Center did not receive the clearance from the pilots or acknowledgement, Jakarta Control Center again contacts the pilots. But before even they could respond, the alarm sounds for the fourth time. This time, things go horribly wrong. The captain this time does not follow the ECAM actions. He instead resets the circuit breakers of the plane, and then immediately after resetting the circuit breakers, the auto thrust and the autopilot both disengage, and then suddenly the plane starts sharply to bangs sharply to the right. The captain shouts to the first officer to level the plane. He deflects his side stick hard to the left. The plane rolls back to 90 degrees to the left. The first officer flying may have faced some spatial disorientation. The captain was facing full nose pitch down, but the first officer was facing full nose pitch up, and as a result, the plane inexplicably starts to climb at a steep angle, and then it stalls. The pilots understood that they could not do anything to recover their plane. Their plane had climbed to 34,000 feet per minute, and then the plane was now descending. The pilots could not think of nothing. The pilots could think of nothing to do except crash. They realized that they could not do anything to save their plane. The plane crashed. The plane was traveling at a very high speed. The plane impacted Java Sea at about 83,000 per minute. The investigation revealed The investigation revealed that the crash started due to the malfunction in the two of the aircraft's radar travel limiter units (RTLU). A tiny soldered electrical connection in the RTLU of the plane was found to be cracked, likely over a year, which caused it to send the amber advisor warning all the times for 4 times. The auto fault radar travel limit 1. And now we will learn that what is turbulence. As I told, the captain told the flight attendants to prepare the cabin for turbulence. Many of you can find it difficult to understand that what is turbulence. What is turbulence? In fluid dynamics, turbulence or turbulent flow is fluid motion characterized by chaotic changes in pressure and flow velocity. It is in contrast to a laminar flow which occurs when a fluid flows parallel in layers with no disruption between those layers. We will see the pictures of turbulence. Here in the first picture we can see an aircraft suffered from turbulence. It shows before the turbulence and after the turbulence. Before the turbulence everything was fine, but after the turbulence the aircraft inside had suffered a very the aircraft had suffered structural failure inside. The aircraft didn't break up. Turbulences can be of two types. They are wake turbulence that are caused by airplanes and natural turbulence. So, here is a picture which shows what is turbulence. In one word, in one sentence, it is called a sudden violent shift in airflow. Fast wind and slow wind. Aircraft can drop or change altitude suddenly during a turbulence. The causes of turbulence are wind, storms, jet stream, objects near the airplane, particularly mountain ranges. Turbulence intensity. Here are the turbulence intensities. Some turbulences are light. In these turbulences, the planes rise or drop only 1 meter. It is hardly noticeable by passengers. Some turbulences are moderate. In these turbulences, the plane rises or drops 3 to 6 meters. In these, drinks may spill, and some turbulences are severe. In these turbulences, the planes can rise or drop up to 30 meters. Occupants can be thrown if not strapped in. Coming back to the investigation of the NTSB. The NTSB's full form is National Transportation Board Safety. The plane's maintenance record showed that the RTLU had sent over 23 times the warnings but was always solved by resetting the flight augmentation computer system. Sorry to tell, but it was not flight augmentation computer system. It was the RTLU system. Means yes, the RTLU means radar travel unit, the full form of RTLU. On flight 8501, the RTLU system had sent the warnings over 4 times. On the first 3 times, the captain successfully solved the problem by resetting the system the first 3 times. But on the fourth time, the captain chose not to follow the ECAM. He instead disengaged the circuit breakers. By doing so, he disengaged several flight control systems which have to be turned on by the pilots after the circuit breaker is resetted. After the captain after the captain disabled both the flight augmentation computers, the the plane went into alternate law system. That means it had disengaged the plane's automatic stall protection, automatic bank angle protection, and the autopilot were disengaged. The flight augmentation computer is a part of the fly-by-wire system which controls the flight controls, including the radar, which overrides the pilot's inputs. The fly-by-wire system is a system that was designed by the airlines in order to override the pilot's actions that may prove dangerous. The actions that may seem dangerous to that system, it will automatically override that pilot's action. For example, if the pilot is wanting to stall the plane and crash it intentionally, then the fly-by-wire system will not let the pilot do that, and it will override the pilot's inputs. Without the flight augmentation computer system, the pilots would have to manage manually their plane based according to their flying skills, which are often stretched during an airborne emergency. A sudden airborne emergency. Short interrupt. After the autopilot disengaged, the plane's radar moved to 2 degrees to the right, causing the plane to bank to the right and causing a stall. I'm sorry, but not caused a stall. The stall was caused by the first officer, who may have faced a spatial disorientation. That means the first officer thought that the plane was diving instead when it was climbing. Thus, when the co-pilot pulled on his side stick, the plane started to climb at a very high climb of rate, which caused it to stall in midair. The captain shouted to the first officer to push the nose down with him, but the first officer continued to pull on, which increased the climb even further. The captain on his own control column then applied full nose down, but while the first officer's side stick is at mostly pitch up, the plane continues to climb and stalls at 42,000 feet, the highest altitude that an airplane can climb and the highest rate of bank angle, 102 degrees. The investigation did not totally recommend that the crash was due to pilot error, but it also concluded that the system malfunction would not have resulted in such a loss of control. So pilot pilot error was also included, but very little. Actually, pilot error was there because it was the captain's failure to take manual control of the plane and explain it to the first officer that the plane was climbing instead of diving. If the captain would have not pulled on the planes sorry, if the first officer had not pulled on his side stick input, the plane would have not stalled today, and the plane would have also not crashed, and also 155 passengers and the 7 crew members would have survived. Sorry, but the investigation was not conducted by the NTSB but the NTSC. The NTSC recommended to all airliners recommended it to all airliners that it should be mandatory to fix the minor problems instead of just simply resetting it, means just temporarily fixing it. The case of flight 8501 was due to maintenance because the maintenance crew didn't follow proper procedures and corrected the RTLU system. In memory of those 155 passengers and 7 crew members, I am ending this video today. This was the video that what caused the crash of AirAsia Indonesia AirAsia flight 8501. Have a nice day. Thank you.